Welcome back to Online Darts, everyone. We're here in between sessions in Amsterdam, and it's been a week of news, so I had to get Mace on. Mace, honestly, my DMs have never blown up so much. All people want to hear from was you and Matt Porter.
I can understand why they want to hear from Matt Porter, but there you go. I'll do my best.
Look, a crazy week in the world of darts. We were expecting a nice, quiet build-up to the World Series finals here, and it all exploded. Let's try and look at it in chronological order. First of all, the calendar for 2024 was announced, and huge changes. The Pro Tours are going to all midweeks. Are you a fan?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, listen, it's the PDC very much promote the professional side of the sport for professional players. I think we've had this discussion. Is there enough money to sustain 128 players as full-time pros? I don't think there is. There is the opportunity, of course, there to earn big money, but you have to be good enough. And Barry's always said he doesn't promote mediocrity.
That's the thing I was looking at. That what would you say? Between 65 and 75% of the tour still work in some capacity, whether it's full-time or part-time. So based on that, if they go every Pro Tour, your travel days as well, because you can't obviously drive straight back afterwards, your qualifiers, and if you qualify for only half of the Euro Tours, you're looking at between 75 and 80 days off. Now, no job's going to give you that, let's be fair. No, exactly that, and that's going to be a huge issue for a lot of players. I think on the back of this announcement, and again, something that we've discussed in depth, I think we may see less players maybe attending Q School, or we may see a lot of players just go and play the one day and try and be in a position where they can play Challenge Tour and then possibly be in a position in the reserve list to go to the Pro Tours, because it's not going to be sustainable. You know, if you were say you had a boss that allowed you to have, I don't know, 5 weeks holiday a year, and you've got a missus and kids who plan their family holiday, you're either going to have to take that without pay, or hopefully your boss gives you extra time off. And this is why I don't think there's enough money for 128 full-time pros, because we know what they earn outside the top 50 over a 2-year period, minus tax, or if you've got managers and their percentage cut and everything else, it's going to be tough. And it's almost, we've had a week of where people are going to have to make big decisions going forward, and that's that's one of them. But listen, if you're a pro, you're a pro, and the ones that are fortunate enough that darts is a full-time job, they'll enjoy this opportunity to almost treat it like what it is, and it is a job. Oh yeah, I fully understand the promoting the professional side of it, which I completely get and understand, but it goes back to what we've spoken about well enough. If then people decide to not attend Q School or just do it for a day and numbers are drastically down, does that also damage the sport in terms of they're saying it can't be a professional sport in the guise that it is because it's not sustainable?
Yeah, I don't. You know, it was very much years ago that it was the sort of top 32 in the world, and even then I would say probably 3/4 of them were actually still holding down a job, excluding, you know, the legends of the game, I suppose, who relied on exhibition work as well as prize money. Yeah, I think maybe 64 is absolute max, and I think they're going to have to somehow. I don't think they'll change anything. They'll suck it and see, and let it run for a season and see how it plays out, see what the attendance is like, see if any of the levels are affected. Obviously the money that Q School generates as well.
That's huge.
Yeah, and see how it plays out. They've obviously, listen, they don't really do a knee-jerk decision. They analyse everything. They look at numbers and data, and they obviously feel like it's a right kind of decision. I personally think that it just should be top 64. And listen, they're in the first round of tournaments as they are at top 120. You're in the first round. You're losing in the first round. Outside of the UK Open, is there any other tournaments I can think of in darts where you're not guaranteed prize money?
Not once you're there, no.
No, and I think they need to look at that. But again, they'll argue the fact, well, you've not won a game, so you don't deserve any money. But
you've won your tour card, you've been through Q School and won the right to be there.
Exactly that. It's one of those, isn't it? It's like, I see it from both sides nowadays. I still see it as a player, but I also see it as a business, and it's hard to be critical with something that's continued to grow year on year, even through crisis. They somehow managed to make it grow. So I fully understand pretty much all of their decisions. Do I necessarily agree? A little bit, but then I can also see how hard it's going to be for the players to make it sustainable.
The other change early on in the calendar is the Masters. Now, it's not the curtain opener. Forget the World Series event. The Masters was always the start of the season. It's been moved to after the opening night of the Premier League. So sandwiched between those two. A couple of points on that. One, does that make the Masters irrelevant? Because the Premier League boys are now in Premier League mode. Are they going to care about the Masters sandwiched in between two Premier League nights?
No, it devalues the event for me. I thought it added a massive boost to an event which was more or less a showpiece event to sort of kick off the year, if you like, outside of the World's finishing. Yeah, a bit sad, really. I think it's a well enough supported event, a big enough event. Maybe it could have been our top 32 event. So it's just basically the top 32 in the world. It can then be ranked. But now, yeah, it seems to have slipped back a little bit. It's still a great event. The players still, most of them still enjoy it. There's a few that don't, of course. But yeah, a bit of a shame, really. But then I suppose now it removes that element of, oh, well, if you win the Masters, are you now in the Premier League? That's now gone. So I totally understand that, again, from a business decision, and the fact that they want to plan and promote the Premier League as early as possible with their selection. So I hope now they'll do as they've done before, where Barry announces the Premier League lineup on the post-final or pre-final of the World Championships. I think that sits much better. I think it creates excitement and anticipation, and there's no grey areas now. It's very transparent, which I certainly think is better.
Would you go before the Premier League final, assuming both finalists are in? Because I've always felt before that it's like, right, you've won the World Championship, and then 15 minutes later, everyone's talking about the Premier League picks. So, assuming both finalists would be in, would you go before?
Yeah, I think potentially, I think you could use that as part of your television build-up. Of course, it's covered by Sky, so I think that would be a nice way to announce it in the build-up. And they probably will do that. They'll probably incorporate it, unless they've got a player that they're thinking, well, if he doesn't win the Worlds, he's not in. But I can't think of that happening too often.
I can't think.
No, I can't think of where that's happened before. Probably has.
Kurt Shepherd, probably that far back. I can't remember too many off the top of my head. Was obviously we're sat here thinking that. Yeah,
that's right. So it'd be an unusual occasion, but I'm sure they're as part of their Matchroom shoulder content and their build up to the Premier League. I'm sure they'll have lots of exciting things in the pipeline.
Yeah, and also on the changes that have been made, obviously the Euro tours are still at weekends, less in Germany, which is nice to see. They're spread around, but there's still a lot of travelling in between events, and if you qualify for the Euro tours, brilliant, but there's still big gaps for those players that don't, because not everyone can get on those Euro tours.
Yeah, I don't know what the fix is for that, to be honest. It's very rare, I suppose, in a job do you complain about the opportunity of, I don't want to call it overtime, but you know what I mean, like earning more money. So again, I find it hard to be critical, and again, it's managing your time. You know, for an example, let's look how I lived my life during my career. It's no point me going out on the piss and being, you know, knackered on a Monday and then having to go, you know, whose fault is that?
Yeah, no.
You know, so, you know, ultimately you've got to be professional. You've got to treat it as you should treat it, as a job. And you've also got to remember you're in a very privileged position, and you're getting an opportunity that none of us really had. So I can sometimes listen. No one's prouder than me to see the sport where it is. I was involved when we were trying to make this a reality, and now it is. Sometimes does get on my tits a bit to see people moaning that, oh my God, I've got to go here, but you're going there with the opportunity of earning 30 odd grand, mate. So I can put my sort of PDC hat on and my player hat on, and just pick and choose your tournaments, take the time off, rest when you can rest, and look after yourself.
The big news though,
oh God,
that we knew it was coming in terms of the men, because we'd had discussions with players, and we knew a fair while ago that the men weren't going to be allowed to play at Lakeside and at Alexandra Palace. However, the blanket ban on women's and youth, I didn't see that coming, and it's really stirred up a hornet's nest, and everyone was going back to, the BDO used to stop them, but now it's the other way, and it was quite clear in the WDF statement that this is a PDC decision, that they are not allowing players to play in both the non-tour card holders. Yeah,
well, listen, obviously the WDF can't afford to lose some of their biggest assets, and of course one of them is most definitely Bo Greaves right now. She's a big talking point when you're discussing darts in any area, and of course Luke Littler. From a commercial sense, again, I've not spoken to. I've just seen the release from the WDF, and we've had a brief chat about it. I can't see because the players are. This is how I see it. I haven't spoken to anybody from the PDC about it, so I'm trying to think. Well, why have the PDC done this? With what their investment in women's darts, they're thinking about their product and their brand. Do they want one of their key, it's not their player of course, but a player that would be competing in their blue ribbon event, competing in that, do they think that devalues their participation in their event? I'm a little bit disappointed that they've not allowed Luke to play in the youths, and in another breath I think, say Luke, and this is not like pie in the sky at all. This could happen. He could win the youths and win the men's. We know he's got the game to win both. Wouldn't it be nice to then him be introduced to Ali Pali as the reigning WDF amateur world champion, world youth champion? And the same with Bo. Say she went on and won the women's world, she would then be introduced to Ali Pali as the current women's world champion. They would also create a lot of media interest by winning those events, and then the talk would be instantly, well, you've won that one, can you win the big one? And I don't mean that disrespectful towards the WF, but it's apple and oranges. But then in another breath, I can sort of see why they don't want players competing in their event being associated with an event that's had so much negativity around it, including from me. And that negativity is because of how they're running it at the moment, and the lack of transparency, which is something that the PDC are very good at. They've announced, right, this is the rules, this is what's happening, boom, that's it, make a choice. No hard feelings if you choose to play one or not the other. But I'm gutted. I'm gutted for the players who have not had the opportunity, or would maybe not have the opportunity to defend their title in Bo Greaves, which I don't know what decision she's made. I think Luke's Luke's picked Ali Pali. And you can see why, really. I mean, if you're going to win one, which one would you rather win nowadays? There was maybe a talk 20 odd year ago, but certainly not now. I'm gutted for the players, but again, I can see their reasoning, and I personally can't wait for you to sit down with Matt Porter and see his reasoning behind it. On that, obviously, this would have been known some time ago, that the possibility of non-tour card holders, international qualifiers, qualifying for both. Should this decision have been made earlier and communicated to the players? Because when Bo Greaves won the Women's World Match Play, it said winner of this receives an invite to the World Championship. It doesn't say the winner of this receives an invite to the World Championship but can't play in anything else. And she qualified long before as defending champion for the women. So yeah, that's where they've left themselves a little open to criticism, and And of course, you remember the ultimate PDC rules. If it's not in this rule, please revert back to rule
1.
Rule 1, where we have the right to amend and change our rules at any given time. And yeah, I mean, if it was me, I'd probably stupidly have gone down the legal standpoint and gone, well, hang on a minute, that's restraint of trade, and they're not tour card holders. Currently, not tour card holders.
I was going to say that on the non-tour card holders, is it bordering restraint of trade?
Well, it is restraint of trade. They're stopping them from earning money by introducing a rule saying, well, if you want to play in that, you can't play in that. But I understand it as tour card holders, you signed that contract.
I agree, yeah.
You've not, you know, we've seen it before where they've been allowed to play in both because they're not tour card holders. So yeah, but I'm sure, as I've said, when you speak to Matt, you'll go, well, no, this is the legal, this is why we're allowed to do it. But yeah, for me, it's a bit restraint of tradie, isn't it? Because although I haven't seen the rules or read the rules for quite some time, so I don't know what's in there. But
well, it used to be, again, I'm just going off what it used to be, I'm pretty sure that if people didn't take allocated spots, they went back to the PDPA qualifier. So, yeah, I'm interested to see that if, but we're saying if because we don't know, that if Bo does choose Lakeside, what happens to that place? Because
you're on about the conspiracy theory that it's only a way to get Fallon in.
That's the one.
Yeah. Well, of course that can't happen this year because according to PDC rules.
Well, so, I mean, I'm sure that spot would go back to
PDPA qualifier.
Which, if it does, and that's in the rules, I get that. However, the caveat to that is last year there was such a big thing around going forward. We are going to have 3 women in the World Championship going forward from now on. Mm-hmm. And then a year on, we're not, potentially, because of something that the PDC have introduced very late in the year. And this just seems a mess that's not really been thought of all the way through. What if we do this, what's the knock-on effect here, and here? That's what it feels like right now.
Yeah, and again, revert to rule 1 point. Yeah, and it'd be a shame to see, you know, a woman miss out on a chance to play at Ali Pali again. And that's ultimately, if it, unless the rules have been changed and they've been amended to suit this scenario, as it stands right now, it won't go to the
next one on the rankings.
The next one on the rankings, it will free up another place to the PDPA qualifiers.
That doesn't really sit right with me after everything that was said last year about maintaining having 3 women going forward.
Yes, now we're only going to end
championships.
We're going to end up with 2, and I don't know, but I presume Bo will choose to defend her title, and I think. In a way, I get it. It's a massive opportunity. If you look at it from a financial aspect, I think the women's is going to be around 25,000 this year. Is that what it was?
It was last year. I'm not convinced it's going to be that
well,
this
looking
year
at ticket sales this year, they've done a lot of tickets. If they've got a good sponsor, it could be more. She may know already, and that may sway her decision. You know, ultimately. Money talks, bullshit walks.
This is for both brands here. Obviously, Luke Littler's nailed his colours to the mast. He's gone, I'm going that route. Obviously, Bo's going to take her time. But if she picks the PDC over the WDF, what message does that send to their tour in relation to their champion doesn't want to defend her title? But then also flip the coin. What does it say to the PDC that their women's, the match play champion, the only major in the women's game in the PDC, has gone, no, I'm all right, I'm going to go there. So it's a sword for both.
She's the best woman dart player in the world right now, and by a bit of a distance currently, despite her results this weekend so far. Yeah, listen, it doesn't look on either side of the fence, does it? It's not a good look for her to say, no, I'd rather play at Lakeside than play at Ali Pali. But then you've also got to factor in her age, the fact that she is the defending champion. She doesn't know what draw she would potentially get at the Worlds. As good as she is and as proven she is, you know, she'd have to find somewhere near her absolute optimum level if she drew one of the big guns. You know, and there's no guarantee. I think what's first round losers money? $7.5 grand, yeah. And let's have it right. The form she's in right now, she's most likely going to go on and win that Women's World Championship at a bit of a canter. If it is 25 or 30 grand, she becomes a 2-time world champion. She's defended it, cements her place in the history books, and then maybe moves back. But will there be any kind of after effects of declining invites to either? Will the WDF say, I don't think they would, but or would the PDC say, well, you declined our offer, spin?
Yeah.
Who knows what's in the pipeline there? But I don't think I'd like to think neither would sort of take umbrage with anyone declining an invitation.
Does this feel like a bit of a backward step for the sport? It feels like we've gone rushing back to 93, 94 all over again, and the organisations couldn't be any further apart right now.
Yeah, and I've spoke to sort of players about it and sort of got their feedback, and yeah, it's just not. It doesn't feel nice, does it? I don't. You know, I understood years ago when you had to make a choice because that was it, but it's not involving tour card holders. It's, you know, it's involving people that have earned their right to play there by qualification criteria. So it's effectively, it's not an invite. They're not breaching any tour card rules because they were allowed to go on streams and everything else and qualify for these championships, because if there'd have been a rule in place, they wouldn't have been allowed to play in the WDF stuff because of the streamed events, which they're not allowed. If you're a tour card holder, you can't be on a rival stream or TV production. So yeah, it just leaves a bit of a bitter taste. Remember, it was so bad back then. Horrible not being able to do exhibitions against Super League players because they would get banned, and
play pairs with your mates.
Yeah, you couldn't play, exactly, you couldn't play in teams, you couldn't, if you did this you couldn't play county, and you know darts is very much a sport for the masses, and like I said, I understand you've got to sometimes protect your brand and your key players, but yeah, it just leaves a little bit of a horrible taste in one's mouth.
We thought it was going to be a quiet week, and then all this came in.
Yeah, it's a bit sad, really. But I'm going to be interested to hear what Matt has to say. Ultimately, he would have looked at the scenarios and situations and weighed up what's ultimately best for. You know, it's not just the brand; it's the broadcast partners, it's the sponsors, it's the shareholders, and listen, they don't do things, you know, in any kind of knee-jerk reaction. Everything's measured and thought through. But this is a rare one where I'm not sure they've, like you say, thought through what's going to be the repercussions down the line.
The other one obviously sprung as well, the World Series. We're here in the World Series finals, and it's something that obviously ITV cover. We're going back to the Netherlands, the Dutch Darts Masters, and again I find this one particularly strange that the World Series was meant to help grow the game in territories and develop territories. Now, pretty sure that doesn't apply to here in the Netherlands because it's a thriving anyway. And the World Series, is that a financial sellout?
Yeah, it's. I don't quite know what the fix is for this. I know they do take it around them. I thought New York's been brilliant the last couple of years.
Poland
was fabulous. But yeah, to have one so quick on the back of this one, and it's literally over the other side of here in a bigger arena in January. Yeah, I don't. Again, it's a decision I'm waiting to hear. And listen, no doubt it is a financial decision, but you've got to remember, it's the PDC is very much a financial machine for the players. I was looking at Michael's prize money from ranking events only, and it's approaching 11 million. So you could probably put at least half of that on again from Premier Leagues and World Series and everything else. So again, how can you we're looking at it from a fan's point of view, and like I say, I can also look at it from a commercial point of view. But it does seem a bit strange when there, unless we hear of there's another broadcast partner that wants this event, or I don't know what long-term TV deals they have with other broadcasters. But yeah, I'd have liked to have seen something, I don't know, in France, maybe something in Ireland, maybe something in Wales. Maybe something in Scotland. They don't get a lot, do they? Yeah. And of course the game's massive up there. You only got to see the big exhibitions that take place up there, the big galas, and they're attended by thousands. So there's a marketplace for it there, or even further afield. I don't know. Take it somewhere where there is an interest in terms of viewers, but we've never put an event on there. But again, it's hard to criticise their commercial decisions, because so far, the players aren't doing bad out of it.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And last one before we let you go, because you're going to get some food in between sessions. MVG bounces back. I know we're between sessions, but that 103 average from the match play and the 2 Pro Tours, I didn't see that coming.
No, and last time out of the Pro Tours, won 1 out of 4 games, didn't he? And looked right out of sorts. 88 averages. Just the last weekend, they did a series of 4
exhibitions with
Gezi, and he 2-2, and Gezi was on fire, producing averages of around 113 and 9 darters. But there were signs there in that match against William O'Connor. That 161 was. I mean, if he goes on to win this tournament, I'll remember that 161, because that would have been the catalyst. But his performance against a blistering Dimi as well. Dimitri Vandenberg was outstanding, threw everything at him, and the fact that Michael got out of that second session at 5-all was incredible. He averaged 111 in that session, leg 6 to leg 10. Outstanding, and he could well be the man to beat tonight.
And again, we'll let everyone know, now that you're all moved in, the Live Lounge Live is going to be from your boozer.
It is, yeah.
The Prince of Wales. We've got to sort of date out and get it all thing, but the live is going to be from your boozer.
In between Derby and Nottingham, so if you're in that area, when it gets announced, if you're close enough, let us know. It will be only open to those attending the Live Lounge live. And we'll have a bit of fun, a few games of darts, and do some live Q&As, and generally have a bit of a good time and a bit of a laugh.
Mate, pleasure as always, mate.
No problem, pal.